Underrated and Overlooked podcast. I hope everybody's having a great start to the week. We have a lot in store today. Hope you guys like our new official background. It's going to be a great show. Got a lot to talk about. Talking about NFL draft. We're going to be talking about the latest in high school recruiting. We'll also be getting into the epic series that's going on in the NBA between the Lakers and the Warriors. Give our thoughts on that, and then how the Chiefs did in the draft, and then what do we think about both of our teams, the Bengals as well. And then we'll get into some major news for Angel Reese and a couple others as well. But Craig, how you feeling today?
Feeling good. So it's officially May. Is this 6 months we've been doing the show now? I think we started in November.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Half a
Wow,
year.
it's went fast, right?
Yes, it has.
It's went fast. Yeah, we got a little audience now, so that's always good. But no, it's definitely a lot of fun. Definitely got people that's hitting me up in the DMs now asking questions. So got a couple fan questions today as well.
That will be a good one. Yes.
Yes. So first and foremost, I want to pull up the schedule. We're going to share the screen with you guys. Carrollton head coach Joey King just announced their schedule. I did have a game on here, the Freedom Bowl, but I want to get Craig's thoughts and see what he thinks about the schedule. See if I can find the tweet really quick to share with you guys. Hold on one second. All right, where are you at? I remember having you.
So let's talk real quick about the Freedom Bowl. So I think it's probably year 5 or 6. Started at Milton High School. It's had an interesting past though. The first year they had it's David Manier, I think, is the guy that founded it. It's always during Labor Day in September, usually that second week. We're typically at the Great Atlanta Bash for that 2-day event, but the first year they actually, and it was by coincidence, they invited Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. That's where the Parkland shooting was. So I talked to that coach before that game. That was really emotional. They invited a team from Canada another year. They actually ran into the problem with the Bishop Sycamore invitation the year after that. But the last few years, I mean, it's really blown up. I think this year's schedule is huge. We'll talk about this big matchup, but in terms of the Georgia teams that are in it, so that's the schedule right there.
This is their whole schedule. This is what I wanted you to look at. But no, I think the matchup. So the matchup came out. It's going to be Langston Hughes versus Carrollton in the Freedom Bowl. Milton is going to play.
I think Mill Creek.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. I don't even know which matchup's better, but in terms of the Hughes Carrollton, it will be the first time they've ever played. There's so much hype around Carrollton right now with Julian Lewis. Obviously, Hughes has been unbeatable. I think Joey King's one of the best coaches out there. We'll get to see Bryce Hicks, a ton of speed from Hughes, a ton of playmakers from Carrollton, 7A versus 6A. I think that is one of the best matchups of the year by far.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best matchups, definitely, and a great way to open the season, right? Both teams were in the state championship game, 1-1, and Langston Hughes and the other came close, but just offensive firepower for Mill Creek, which is on a different level. But I think it's going to be interesting to see, right? You got the QB matchup. You got Prentice Nolan versus Juju Lewis, who is the highly sought after quarterback, could be the top quarterback in the class, right? So you got him. So you got to think about that. What's going on with that? And then you also got the playmakers, right, in this game, right? So Carrollton, you got Bryce Hicks. You got Caleb Odom. How are they going to match up against that really good defense last year for Langston Hughes, who gave teams fits all year long? That's going to be an interesting matchup. And then for Langston Hughes, you're going to lose some of their playmakers. Jaden Barnes, not going to have him anymore. So how does their other playmakers step up, right? They got JoJo Stone that's coming over from Grayson, right? How does he look in year two? Kind of didn't really get a lot of playing time last year, but how does he look in year two coming over with that new offense along with Prince Nolan? And who will be the young playmakers that step up for Coach Boone Williams? I think it's going to be an intriguing matchup.
Yeah, and as good as the quarterback matchup is, it is kind of a contrast to styles. I just think watching Hughes last year, the way Prentice Nolan was able to pass the ball, sideline to sideline, down the field, they can pass, they can spark plays really fast, and then run the ball if they need to. Where Carrollton, they have Bryce Hicks back there, and they really do use him as a mixture where he's either going to catch out of the backfield or he can take 20 carries. He did it against Colquitt County. So even against that big Hughes defense, how much do you want to use him? It's early in the season. I think we'll see an interesting strategy, but I think if that game is close, you could really see an exciting fourth quarter. Which quarterback's going to make the plays? And we've seen Juju Lewis as a freshman play against some really talented quarterbacks, hold his own. He led them obviously to the state finals, so I don't think he's going to shy away from going up against one of the best. And I think Prentice Aaron Nolan, in terms of his career, what he wants to accomplish his senior year and get that momentum going into um, Ohio State, he wants to be a starter when he walks on that campus. So I think that's what he's really going to be focused on during his senior year is getting better, showing out every single week, and building that resume to where he can walk on, show up year one, and maybe be in the NFL 3 years later.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously he's focused and he knows what he wants to do and what he wants to accomplish. But let's take a look at the schedule now. Just what do you think of this game? Or just real quick, their schedule. Try to give a more in depth look for you guys on that side. But let's see, right? So, let me see if I can find it. Okay, so I think the games that stand out to me, right, is their week 3 game, or yeah, week 3 game against Rome at Rome, September 1st at the Rome Barons Stadium. I think that's going to be an incredible matchup between both of those teams. As far as their schedule for this upcoming season, I think the East Carolina game will be also very interesting. See how they're going to look this season without not having Christian Lankford, who transferred over to Buford, and I think Westlake. Right, how does Westlake look going into this season? Losing a lot of their talent, but how will they look with the quarterback position and some of their skill weapons? I think that's going to be another storyline. And then head coach new head coach for Pebblebrook, right? Michael Woolridge. How are we looking year one? We already know the fast and speed that they have on that team with the White Phillips. How does that look? How good can they be in year one? So I think it's an interesting schedule.
Yep, you have to have a good secondary to go up against this Carrollton team. They have the mismatches at the receiver position. They took advantage of that all year. I think the Rome game will be interesting. It is non-region.
Well,
Rome's actually the last team to beat Carrollton in the regular season. It was 2 years ago, but that was before Julian Lewis came. I really like Coach Joey King, what he's been able to do in just 2 short seasons there. Carrollton goes up to 7A. They make that run last year.
well,
But in terms of that region, the East Coweta game will be big, but you have to be able to get to the quarterback. You're going to have to get pressure on Julian Lewis. Mill Creek was able to do it a little bit, but he still passed for 500 yards. So, can these defensive coaches find a way to match up with these receivers, force them into third down, and then somehow have that pass rusher that's able to get some big plays? That's going to be key. But I think it will take just a great defense to be able to slow them down.
I totally agree. It's going to be a great game. I can't wait for the Freedom Bowl. Obviously, as you said, we'll be at the Grand Atlanta Bash with the Atlanta schools, so it'll be hard to watch that. But obviously, we'll see what's going on with it. I think it'll be really, really interesting, and see what happens with it. But let's continue going. Some big recruiting news in the high school world. We're going to talk about that and get into that really quickly here. Um, so for me, some big ones I've seen. I think star defensive end got his third Division I offer from Charles Southern. Aiden Butts, he was for Stevens County. I thought that was huge. Last year led, or I think he was third in the state in sacks. He had 16 sacks total last year for Stevens County. I think he continued to blow up in the recruiting world as the time goes, and I think he's just a dynamic rusher on the edge. We'll continue to bring that going into next season. Lucas Farrington, the running back for Woodward Academy, he received a Missouri offer last year. He shared the load with Miles Graham, their star linebacker who's committed to Florida. But Mizzou, he had 668 yards and 8 touchdowns. So pretty good season last year for Lucas Farrington. When you had star edge and defensive tackle Bryce Perry Wright, he received a Penn State offer, very big for the young player. I think he got some playing time as a sophomore last year. He'll be a junior this year, so expect for him to jump right in there along with Edgercuson and try to bolster that defensive line. And then you had cornerback Jalen Crawford from Parkview. He nailed down his top 11, includes Georgia Tech, Florida, UNC, Miami, LSU, Clemson, and Auburn. So what do you think about that?
A ton of great defensive guys right there. I'm really excited this season to see who is going to emerge as these top pass rushers. Last year, you brought attention to a lot of these guys. Aiden Butts, what he was able to do, the 16 sacks. I think there's a ton of talent in the edge rushers and these guys, and we're going to see impressive numbers. You put up double digits in a high school season, that's huge, but there's a lot of guys returning that did exactly that last season. Who's going to be pacing the state? Who's going to come out early, have these multi-sack games, get to the top of the statewide standings, and really make a name for themselves. But in terms of Buford, you're talking about some of their guys, what they're going to have on the defensive line. It's scary. They have so many underclassmen that were already on the radar last year, and they're coming back. I think they're going to be even better. That defensive front is no joke.
It is not. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, next year, don't I would not be surprised if they come out with a vengeance. We mentioned their schedule already, playing some of the top teams in the nation next season, the first couple non-region games. So they're going to get tested early and often. And I think it's a team that was really young in some key areas. Obviously, KJ Bolden was a junior; he'll be a senior this season. One of their top heavily recruits.
Gosh, yeah.
Same with Edric Houston, junior, will be a senior this season. But I think at key positions they were young, besides the running back in the quarterback position. So we'll see how it looks. And obviously this year they're going to come out with a vengeance, and they're going to get tested early. So they're going to be interesting.
With Buford, yeah, KJ Bolden, he's arguably the best athlete in the entire state. Some say even the country. He can do so much. That Buford team last year, they had the one loss to Walton. We know that, but I think the big question is going to be quarterback. They had basically 4 or 5 running backs that are all recruited, all D1 guys. Defensively up front, they're completely stacked. They have a great secondary. I mean, I think they're going to be really scary again this year, and potentially a favorite to take the state title after last year. And they're going to be upset about that. They've also got the transfers coming in on that offensive line.
Yep.
It's all about the quarterback play, though.
That's what it's going to be about. What can they get from the quarterback position? Can he be somebody that gets them over the top? That's been the biggest question, I think, with Buford. Obviously, a great all-around team, but even in the high school level, I know you see him more in college, you see him more in the NFL, but you need your quarterback to produce. You need your quarterback to make those key throws when you don't got it going, when people are keying in on your rushing attack, and they're putting 9, 10 in the box because they know you can't throw it. You need that quarterback to come through and beat those one-on-one coverages and those man-to-man coverages. You need that.
And we know that their offensive line, they're going to be able to buy time, but they also need some receivers to step up. It's not just the quarterback.
Yep.
Last year, they did rely too much on Justice Haynes, which, I mean, was the best, but they've got to be able to pass in those key plays. And we saw it with Walton. The second Walton had that 2-possession lead, we knew Buford could come back, but when they were forced to be one-dimensional and pass the ball, that's the way to beat them. Yep. When they're able to be balanced offensively, they're really tough. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to be a tough matchup. I'm interested to see their schedule. I know they played some out-of-state teams last year. They'll probably be doing the same. Maybe a couple of those changed, but I mean, yeah, Buford this year, another just incredible team to watch this season.
No, for sure. And before we wrap up the high school section, is any other news, headlines that you saw that you wanted to hit on before we transition?
Well, I just want to say I saw Julian Lewis this weekend, and what I see about him, he's got a really strong base frame to him, sturdy legs. I think you can look at him just on film. He obviously doesn't look like a freshman, but he's still got room to grow, which is scary to think. I think he's going to get a little taller. He's filling out. He looks physically stronger than he was last year, and he's just absolutely blowing up. I mean, the opportunities in front of him this season. He was the talk of the state last year, this freshman. He makes the big run. Now he's getting looks from USC. He's making his rounds. You look at this schedule. I mean, this season for him, it's going to be absolutely huge. The pressure is really strong, but I think he can handle it. And I think he's special. But I just saw physically, I think he looks really sturdy.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, especially if he's able to grow a couple more inches to really kind of develop into his body. He already has the arm strength, already has the touch with the ball, already makes great, touch throws down the field. So it'll be interesting to see, and how if Carrollton can get back to the championship game, because remember they beat a really good Colquitt team who was 13-0, blazing through the competition. They went in there on the road with Bryce Hicks, who got 37 carries, 205 yards, and balled out and got that road win, which is definitely not easy to do, especially as a freshman quarterback. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about what he could have be adding to his game during this offseason. Like, what were some of those areas where he thought he could have gotten better?
Yep.
Because I mean, every time that Carrollton was in these tough situations, I mean, he would step up, he'd make the throws, and keep them in the game. And even in that Colquitt one, yes, they did rely a lot on Bryce Hicks running the ball, but I think they have all that talent returned at the receiver position. Year 2, varsity starting for Lewis, and yeah, this is a big year for him, and I'm interested to see where this recruiting trail goes for him.
It'll be intriguing if you're Kirby Smart. This is a quarterback you don't let leave the state. I'm not going to lie to you. It's rare to have top tier. Well, I say not in Georgia. I mean, I always have top tier quarterbacks, but it's you definitely don't want them to go elsewhere if they're from your state. If you can land them and keep them, that's kind of what you want to do. But we'll leave it there. We'll move to our second segment, which is some more college news. Haley Van Lith, this was last week. She transfers to LSU. The rich get richer. She averaged 19.7 points per game last season, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. And essentially, what you do here is you're bringing back Flaw J. Johnson. Obviously, you got Angel Reese, which you got some news on her. We'll talk about in a minute. But you bring her in, and she replaces the production of Alexis Morris, who's going to WNBA. And I mean, you don't really miss a beat offensively because you still got another guard who can put it on the floor and score. I think she was top 25 in scoring last season.
Yeah, the rich get richer, exactly. LSU this upcoming season. I mean, I said yesterday, I think we're going to see it where similar to what South Carolina did. I think to Howard in the first round, they won by like 50 points. I think this LSU team, they're going to be blowing teams out. Who's going to be able to catch them next season? It will be really interesting to see. The star power is incredible. The excitement around them, the defending champs. Um, it's an exciting chapter for women's college basketball for sure. And this is going to be a fun team. See how the new additions kind of mesh together. What the team looks like. I think she adds another just top tier scorer, and I think it'll be an exciting fit.
No, for sure. I think it'll be interesting to see how she fits along with them. But I think LSU is poised again to try to make another run at that national title, and they definitely got the talent to do so. So, question here we got from Dave: is Carson Beck starting for Georgia? They have not announced their starter yet. Still battling out with Brock Vandegrift. So I think they're still going to have that. I know they just had their spring game, but no news on that. Probably won't know that prior until the season starts, maybe in the summer, June or July. But no news on Carson Beck just yet. Um, they're still battling it out down there in Georgia.
Yeah, there's a ton of position battles. I think we're going to see them both play, honestly, until one of them settles in and wins that starting job. I always said, though, I like Brock Vandegrift. He's a physical kid. He's a winner, won a state title, can compete, really has an underrated set of legs as well. He's a physical runner. I think he's mobile. And he comes from that Prince Avenue Christian system that has just been so impressive the way it's able to read defenses. And I forgot what coach you were talking to the other week, but he was talking about how it's not about the quarterback like making the progressions. It's almost like the play design ahead of time, where they know what
That
the
was
defense is looking, then they're just finding the sweet spots and just going on that attack, taking what the defense gives them. I think Brock's going to be able to do that. So they won't put too much pressure on him early on, um, or Carson. But I don't know. I think they're going to use both of them.
Yeah, that was Hayden Gregory for Bluffton.
That's right.
Just as he said, simplifying the offense, making sure they have quick reads where they can get the ball out of their hands quick. As he said and alluded to, they didn't have, the offensive lines is different there than, here in Georgia. So, they have less time to throw. So just having them go quickly, and not having to think as much, but being able to react is key there. But another question, you posed this actually a couple of weeks ago. We're talking about Jeffrey Sims. Nebraska QB actually, Casey Thompson enters the transfer portal. So I think it's a job to lose now for Jeffrey Sims, who should win. As obviously we talked about their spring schedule. We talked about how they played. Um, in that both had rushing touchdowns, but Casey Thompson is no longer there for Nebraska. So it'll be interesting to see who the quarterback's going to be. It's probably going to be Jeffrey Sims. And I think some landing spots potentially for Casey Thompson would be either Cal or Florida. Florida has two transfers coming in: Graham Mertz from Wisconsin and Ohio State, Jack Miller. So that spot's kind of up in the air. They're still battling that out. No starter has been announced either. So I think that's going to be interesting. I think again it's Jeffrey Sims' job to lose. I think his best season was 2021. But we'll see how he looks in the Nebraska offense. But yeah, he's entered the transfer portal. We'll see where he goes. But if he wants a really good fit, he wants to contend for a um, number one job. I think Florida would be a good spot to go to.
Yeah, and I'm excited that that question was asked last week because I mean that was big news that just broke. I was surprised. I thought, I mean, he was solid for Nebraska last year until he got hurt. He's healthy now. He's already transferred from Texas. His older brother, I think, went from either Utah to Oklahoma, Oklahoma to Utah. So this is a guy that has the experience, but yeah, where is he going to land? He obviously wants that starting job, and I thought it was an interesting situation because you had Jeffrey Sims coming in
Yeah.
last year. What hurt Nebraska was Thompson getting hurt and not having a backup. So I thought, okay, well now they have two capable guys. Well, now they obviously are going with Sims and Casey wants out. So interesting, but yeah, I just thought it was cool that we talked about it last week and now everything changed.
Yeah, in a matter of a week. So that goes to show you how things can change from week to week. But yeah, we'll see where Casey lands. Obviously, good luck. This is probably going to be his last shot. He started at Texas and then transferred to Nebraska, and this will probably be his last opportunity. So hopefully, he goes to a school where he can land on his feet and obviously get that opportunity to stay healthy and hopefully, have one good year. That's really what it takes in college football. Obviously, you want the consistency and a kind of prolongated kind of success. But if you have that one good season and you show your talent, what I'm saying? I won't say you're a lock for the NFL, but your chances definitely go up drastically.
Yeah, and the is I mean, the spring games are over. So Sims comes in. I mean, this transfer portal is literally just like 365 at this point. I mean, to be transferring after the spring game, potentially getting ready to start for another school right away, that's once again unprecedented. So we'll see. I don't know too much about what went down involving him during the spring. If he was out there, I need to look into that. But I mean, this is pretty late to be transferring, so it's very interesting.
I definitely agree. But we're gonna leave that there with those news. Some other big news: Angel Reese, she landed a Mercedes NIL deal along with the car for her birthday. A new Mercedes Benz just came out. Um, I'll let Craig react, but some other news: she had some major endorsements. First, now Mercedes, Dick's Sporting Goods, Leaf Trading Cards, Cactus AI. She's one of 22 college student athletes with a seven-figure valuation. That was according to 0 and 3. So she is definitely blown up ever since coming into after the tournament's been over. Obviously, I think women's college basketball is one of the biggest sports you could say in the country. It's definitely been followed a lot now, and you got players, landing major deals. Raising Canes, I think it was another one she landed. So obviously, NIL has been helping out a lot with this, and I think women's sports is the way to go, as far as being able to promote and access the brand. I can't wait to see next year with so many storylines going forward. How it's going to look, and which teams are going to come out on top next year.
Yep, Business Insider did a survey. They looked at all the Sweet 16 teams, boys and girls, in the tournament this year. They found that the girls actually had twice as many Instagram followers, twice as many Instagram engagements. So I was thinking about what Angel Reese currently represents in terms of just a superstar at the college level. So she at this point is so big. It's like if you have a an athlete at a school like this, the next girl that commits to LSU or whatever and goes on that team, her Instagram followers are going to be higher just by being on the same team as Angel Reese. That's how big she is right now, and so you're seeing the growth of these stars in the NIL market. So it could apply to any sport. The Heisman favorite in football, if you're one of his receivers, your clout's going to go up. You're going to get more opportunities. And so the big debate with the NIL that we've seen that has come up, it's can that athlete, because obviously it's name, image, and likeness for their own name, but then the university would claim, well, we still own the LSU logo or we still own the Georgia logo. And so you're allowed to make these deals off your name, but not necessarily the school name. That's something that has kind of been blended. If you look at some of the track stars or gymnasts, they're on their TikToks literally wearing their uniform. So that rule is not really being applied. But then at the same token, you can't sit there and argue that Angel Reese, for example, is um, profiting off the LSU logo because she could go to any school right now and she'd be just as big. The power is truly in her hands. And I just think it's incredibly interesting just to see how big she is. But that's one of the things I was just thinking about is she's so big that the other girls, just by being in proximity on that team, they have an opportunity to get bigger deals now.
It's a good point. I mean, yeah, if you're her teammate, obviously you're your evaluation is going to go up. You're going to have people reaching out to you. You're going to gain more followers. So it just goes to show you what how NIL is changing everything and helping the athletes. And imagine when they start coming out with games again, right? So I'll bring up that point. Like before, you had NCAA games, but that stopped because the players weren't getting paid, right? Their image and likeness was being used, but wasn't being paid. But imagine those games coming back out. Imagine how much more of a star some of these players could be. A women's college basketball game, the men's college basketball game comes back out. The college football game comes back out. So I think it'll just make bigger stars, and it'll be interesting too because, as you said, it's unprecedented. And how can they handle it, right? I think that's the big key we're not talking about here too. Is imagine going from making nothing in high school, or potentially, as we mentioned, rumors of you making a little bit in high school, but let's just say for this standpoint, you're making nothing, to making close to $500,000 um, from NIL deals and being covers for EA Sports or Sports Illustrated and things like that, and making even more money. I think it's important to think too because these are all team games, right? So sometimes you can see the egos go to the players' heads too, and it's all about them, and then they're not caring more about the team. Like, oh well, I got my bag, I'm good. I don't really care about this. So I think that's another interesting thing and a caveat to think about too is obviously it's great for the players. They're making their money, and some are also staying in school longer, right, to get their degrees and their education and things like that because they're making the money now. Before they weren't really making the money, so they were like, "Oh, I want to go pro. I want to go pro to make the money." Now they're making the money, so I think that's another interesting dynamic too. They can stay in, make the money, get the degrees, and set themselves up in case obviously you play sports, but you can't play it forever. Setting up with a backup plan. But I think those are two interesting things to think about. To stay in school, getting the degree, getting the education, and then also how will players handle it, making all that money so fast, so early, blowing up, as you mentioned with Angel Reese, not letting it go to their head, not letting it affect the team element of what they want to accomplish.
Yeah, I think she's done a good job. Here's the interesting thing: it's all about social media. These athletes, they can't really get themselves out on a platform other than the game. So, what is a guy of a male athlete in NCAA? What's he going to promote on his social media? The opportunities are just so much bigger for a female. I mean, she can do makeup, she can do outfits, she can literally promote anything. A guy, it's like, do I really care? Like what kind of shoes or pants or something that a starting quarterback is doing? No, but the appeal is just there with the female athletes right now at a much larger scale. It's not even close, and so it's all social media driven. Shows the importance of building your brand even before you get to a college campus. Um, but yeah, I mean, she is going to be such a big star and key figure in this initial NIL era. I just think the endorsements aren't going to stop here. Um, and she has a chance to, I mean, look at the other LSU gymnasts right now. I mean, the, the potential is literally endless. She could sell anything. She
Probably
could
could.
sell a cell phone. She could sell a tennis racket, a hat, sunglasses. I mean, anything. She's going to keep making it. She's already at seven figures evaluation. So it's insane. But I mean, what's a guy going to promote?
I could promote anything. They could promote shoes. They could promote
But
hats
is it going
too.
to be as popular?
For sure, it all
You
depends on
think
the
so?
athlete. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got Randall Baycock, who not necessarily is the biggest. He's making 500,000 just coming back to school. That's why he didn't go to the NBA. Yeah, for
Well, they'll
sure.
make money, but I just feel like
It just
you
depends on
look
the
at
athlete.
what like Kim Kardashian, I mean, what they can sell just in terms of their makeup, it's insane.
No, I don't disagree. I mean, obviously that definitely helps. No, I'm saying like, okay, let's say I'm trying to think of a who's been like a big athlete. Let's compare. Let's say like Lamar Jackson, right? I think Lamar Jackson would be able to sell more than Andrew Reese right now. I'm talking about not right now in his career. I'm talking about when he was at the pit. He was at the climax of his career in college with Louisville. I think he could have sold anything. Heisman Trophy winner. That's not to discredit. I'm not discrediting what's going on in the women's sports. I think it's phenomenal. But I think if you compare the top woman athlete compared to the top male athlete, far as who would sell more potentially, I think it'd be neck and neck, of course. But at the height, I'm talking about Heisman Trophy winner, widely known. I think male would sell more. That's just me.
Yeah, we'll see. I just don't know who the top um, male is right now for NIL. I mean, some of them are unpredictable. It's like you'll see a shot putter from like Oregon that just happens to be working the NIL thing really well, has a lot of small deals, but I just don't see anyone on this level right now.
I think a lot of it has to do with some of them getting their deals so early and failing, and well, I won't say failing, but not performing up to snuff. Right? Remember when it first came out, we had athletes like Spencer Rattler. Gosh, what was another quarterback name? They were big, but they didn't live up to it. Right? But I think you're seeing that and why it's kind of like went down a little bit. But if you say, let's say an athlete like a Caleb Williams, who's kind of revered as the number one overall pick next season, excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Thank you. Like him, if he goes and has another phenomenal season, he gets his team to a college football playoff they haven't had in a long time, and he's back in the. He's already won a Heisman. He's back in the Heisman finalist conversation and competing for a national championship. I think that would be equally as big.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that stat was alarming to me. The fact that the girls have twice as much social media engagement. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just don't know what I would be like using to promote my brand as successfully as some of these female athletes are. I mean, these track girls, these gymnasts, they literally can just dance on TikTok and get millions of views. A guy doing that, it's not going to work.
I don't know. I mean, the guy can blow up on TikTok too, though, dancing. So I get what you're saying, though. I'm not saying you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? You bring up a good point. I just think that, I mean, I think you're right now. Like, obviously, there's unmatched right now, right? There's nothing that can really compete with her. But I think in the future, yes.
Okay, let's say the University of Georgia, let's look at their track team. If they have two twins that are on the male track team and two twins that are good looking on the female track team.
I mean, you just gave it away there, the good looking part. That's all it takes. I mean, no offense. I'm not trying to be like that, but I mean, you just said
TikToks blow up.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't even use TikTok, but every time I use the app, that's what's recommended to me next. Is some like Nebraska
it's definitely
track and field girl.
It's definitely easier to market. I don't disagree with you. You're right.
Yeah, but
I don't disagree with
no, I mean, the entire NIL situation right now is really interesting, just how big it is, how much it's talked about, how I mean, you're getting these deals before you even show up on campus if you're a high enough recruit. I think someone was bringing up a point though about just the overall team chemistry, because yeah, you'll have some legit superstars that are getting all these deals and other players that aren't. But think back to my other point. I think when you have a superstar like that, it does present opportunities for the teammates. And if you can be a good leader and do it the right way, I think it will benefit everyone.
I think that's the biggest thing you mentioned. It's all about the superstar and the star. How big is your star in the sport that you play? If your star is big, then I think you're fine. And even with Angel Reese, right? Let's go back to that really quick and we'll wrap up before we transition to our third segment. Right. She had a $371,000 valuation before the tournament, right? What helped her take her brand over the top? Basketball, right? Them winning the title, that moment afterwards, kind of taunting, obviously, Killian Clark. So she had her own valuation, sure, but what took her over the top? Still her playing her sport. It's the same with men. Obviously, men are more known for their sports and being great at it and things like that. But it's going to come down to her continuing to be great at her sport, playing at a high level for her to get that kind of recognition and being able to land all those marketing deals. Same thing with any sport, with any player.
Yeah, I just think also, I mean, these girls that are with college sports, I mean, football, that's obviously the big one. That's the biggest. But I just don't think like a male tennis player, a male track guy, they aren't doing as good of a job or as successful as just like what's a day in the life of a student athlete, a college athlete. That's what these other girls are taking advantage of. So even if you aren't in one of these sports that is getting all the television coverage, there's still like this interest that they're able to capitalize on, and you're getting all the track girls from all these different schools, volleyball girls, and they're all just outpacing the males in terms of these deals. I think it's going to continue.
We'll find out. We'll find out. We're going to leave it there, though. Interesting conversation, but we'll see what happens in the coming years. I think it'll be an interesting debate. But let's keep going to our third segment. Biggest winners and losers, and then how does Craig feel about his Chiefs during the draft? Did he like the draft? Do you think they got significantly better? Do you think they are heads and toes above the competition in the AFC right now?
I trust them. That's just always my takeaway. I'm not gonna sit here and doubt what they do. I did think it was a little interesting. It wasn't as exciting as I thought it could be.
Really? You're talking about the Chiefs or talking about in general?
The Chiefs.
Okay.
I mean, these are solid guys, but I mean, no one where it's like just this guy's going to be a game changer. I think they're all going to fit in well, but I think they did get better. They obviously had their own specific strategy with it. They filled some holes. I'm still confident that they'll be legit, but I just look at what some of the other teams were able to do, and I think they got a lot better as well. So we'll see. Still like the team, but yeah, we
That's
didn't.
where you're at.
Yeah, we didn't get like some guy that I think is going to be a automatic Pro Bowler or defensive MVP.
I mean, it's tough too, Craig, especially when you pick at 31 because you're not going to get those like impact players as soon as they coming out the gates swinging, they coming out the gates putting people on notice. Like it's hard, especially when you draft that late. Not saying that the guys aren't capable, but most of the time those guys are coming in, they're probably going to be a backup, death piece. You probably won't see their impact until later in the season when people are banged up. So I mean, obviously it's tough naming that position. My biggest winners, I think, was I'm gonna talk about the Eagles more later because obviously we got that as a fan question, so I'm gonna save that for later. But I think Houston had a great drive getting CJ Stroud. I thought that was magnificent. Them getting him. Um, I thought landing Will Anderson, like going 2 and number 3 overall, like that, I thought was great for their draft. Them having John Michie, they got it another receiver. I thought Carolina did a good job getting Mingo along to go with Bryce Young and with their receiving core going into next season. I thought they had a great draft. I thought Lions in some spots kind of reached a little bit, but I thought their draft was decent. I'd give them like a solid B minus. I thought they had a decent draft. I thought Buffalo trading up and getting a tight end to go along with that Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid was also a good move for them. Obviously, they need a couple more depth pieces on the offensive line. They did draft some, so we'll see how that works out for them. I thought they had a pretty decent draft as well. But those are my biggest winners. Losers, Jets. I thought they should have got a tackle or offensive lineman there. They get catapulted by the Steelers, who got Broderick Jones from Georgia, who I think is going to be a great piece for them on that left tackle position, kind of anchoring that offensive line on the blind side of Kenny Pickett. Great move for them. So I thought that they could have did a little better. They got a linebacker. They don't really need more help at the defensive side of the ball. They need to add a couple more pieces on the offensive line. So I think Jets is probably going to be my biggest loser for the draft, and those are my biggest winners, as I mentioned. But
What'd you
yeah,
think of the Seahawks?
that too. Thank you. Yes. I was shocked because I'm not gonna lie. My draft board, if we could show you guys, I actually had Seahawks getting Will Levis at number 7, but it didn't go that way, right? Um they got the guy from Illinois, the cornerback who's very physical and athletic. I think that's going to be a good pick for them to go along with Tyreek Woolen. Some are saying they're trying to rebuild the Legion of Boom. I think that's going to be really, really interesting. Um, and then you go out, you got a three-headed monster, right? So now you just signed Genos for a 3-year deal worth over 100 million, but then you're going to have him with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I think is one of the best receivers in the draft. I think that was a great move for them as well. So I think they're going to be dangerous offensively. I didn't mention this team either. The Ravens. I thought the Ravens really wanted to draft prior to landing Lamar Jackson 5-year deal, keeping him in long term, getting OBJ before the draft, and then drafting 5'9" speed demon down the field threat Zay Flowers. I thought was big for them as well. That's going to really help out the receiving core. They have not been able to hit on their receiver room a lot lately, but I think they will. I think they have hit with Zay Flowers. I think it's gonna make them more dynamic. They're gonna change their offense. Everybody complains about Lamar. Oh, he's not a quarterback, he's just an athlete. But now you got a offensive genius in Todd Monken who's gonna get the most out of Lamar. And I think he's already had an MVP. He's gonna be better than this MVP season. He's gonna be more accurate. He's gonna have better ball placement. He's gonna make better reads with the football. Just watch this upcoming season, the next couple of years. They had Tom Muckin as the offensive coordinator. Watch how he transforms and transitions as an even better quarterback than what he already was. Bookmark this video. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Then what do you think about the conversation about running backs? Some of them that got drafted kind of the upper half of the first round, and everyone always wants to say that that's a potential mistake. but is that because you should assume that you could get the guys later? What is it about drafting running backs early in the first round that people think it's such a bad idea?
So the issue is that running backs are great, right? Running back is a position that you can get in the league and you can hit the ground running. You could be great your first 4 to 5 years, but you've created so much baggage on yourself. And those 4 to 5 years, you're looking for a deal. So a lot of times teams don't like to do that because they can get great value, as the Chiefs showed this past year, 7th round, getting Isaiah Pacheco to come in. They drafted, I think, Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first or second round a couple years prior. But now, like, what is he going to be? So I think they say that because a lot of their tread is almost off after those 4 to 5 years. They get the big deal and then they don't produce, but maybe 1 or 2 seasons after that. But the GM and the team's already paid them all that money. So then they're like, oh, well, it's not worth it to get them. But it is, I think, in a sense, because you're getting cheap value for a running back. Even though you're getting them so high, you're getting great value that you can have for 4 to 5 years. Then you can decide, hey, okay, in the third year or so, maybe we'll go get somebody in the third or fourth round to be a compliment to him. Or potentially, if we don't want to pay him his money, we can move on. It's tough because this is how teams evaluate running backs. Once you hit that 30-year point, they don't really want to keep you because they feel like your production is going to drop off. There are some cases where running backs are still playing at that high level, but more recently, it hasn't been the case. So this is why teams and why that kind of statement and perspective has been more so why teams don't say go get those running backs. But again, I think Bijan Robinson at number 8 to the Falcons, number 12 for Jamar Gibbs going to the Lions. Those are great value pieces, and they're going to give you so much value just starting out those first 4 to 5 years. Sometimes you cannot beat that.
I agree, and what the reason I brought it up also, it's like so many times there's running backs that are also really big contributors in the passing game. I mean,
Yes.
you get a guy that is young, you get him for his those prime years, which you said they can hit the ground running. We saw it with Pacheco, a late round pick, doing it. So I think, yeah, there are some downsides around picking a running back this early, but at the same time, I think a lot of them can contribute in a lot of ways, bring that balance to the offense,
Yeah.
and so I don't think it's as bad as many people claim it is. Like with the Gibbs pick, people say, "Oh, I love the player, I don't like the pick," but
Right.
we don't know what he's going to do. He could be a home run guy. He could
Yeah.
add key plays, yeah, in the passing game.
He can catch it out of the
It's not
backfield.
just taking 20 carries and getting hurt.
It's not like that anymore because, like, the
No.
running back, you got to think about it, guys. This is a passing league now, right? So you got running back, they have to do more than just carry the football, right? Teams aren't running the football like they used to. There's only a select few cases they're smash mouth football. That's Tennessee. It used to be Baltimore. They're probably going to change up their scheme, right? A lot of times you got to be able to catch out the backfield. You got to be able to pass block and pass protect with your quarterback. You got to be able to run receiver routes in the slot. Like, there's a lot you have to do as a running back that's not the same anymore. So it's almost an interchangeable position. So I think two running backs got to think about too, the ones coming up. Hey, how can I add more value to myself? I'm not just a running back. Hey, I'm a receiver. I catch the ball. I can make this defender miss. I have great route running ability. I can freeze a linebacker. Like, things like that is going to be key for running backs, and it's almost going to be, I think, in a couple of years, almost reevaluation of the position because it's not going to just be carrying the football, right? It's going to be other things, being a threat in the passing attack. And if you're a threat, think about this, guys. If you're a threat in the passing attack and you add a different dynamic or weapon, teams are going to want you naturally. And then when they say, "Oh, well, you're just a running back," no, I'm not. I just had. That's why I love Alvin Kamara's game. No, I just had almost 1,000 yards receiving as a running back too. So obviously, I can in 10 touchdowns receiving. So obviously, I could put up numbers similar to a wide receiver. So no, I'm more of a hybrid. Then that almost inflates their case that says, "Oh, I'm not just a running back. I can do both. So pay me as both." That's why you see Debo Samuel got his money, and he's kind of that hybrid case because he would do a little bit of running back. Obviously, he's a receiver, but he would be able to do both. I think you're going to see more of those guys going forward.
100%. I don't think any of these guys that win the first round are going to be getting that physicality that a Christian McCaffrey's been dealing with, where he's just touching the ball so much. But I do think that they can come in. I mean, the Chiefs did this so well last year. They weren't able to run the ball against some teams. They just used their speedy guys in the backfield, put them in motion, do short check down routes, and then you're really just adding another receiver in a sense. So I don't necessarily hate these running backs getting picked early.
Me neither. But we got some more questions. We're going to take it to fan questions before we talk about NBA because these were posed to me in a Twitter DM. So thanks, Dave, again, for always tuning in these questions. So we got some answers for you today. So we're gonna start with the first one. How would we grade the Patriots draft class? I will start. I really like the pick they got with Christian Gonzalez at 17 from Oregon. Great value pick at number 17. He should have been a top 10 pick. Great corner, go with his hands, great at getting deflections, high point in the football. Um, he's going to be a great pick for them as they build more depth and build more things at their cornerback position. And great pick. I also like the deep picks of Amir Speed, who runs a 4.3340, and Isaiah Boulder. I think it just gives the Patriots more depth. Boulder might be more of a depth piece, might be more of a at special teams, but I think he's going to add more to their team. So I like that pick there for the Patriots as well. Keon White, I thought was a good complimentary piece along with Deatrice Wise and Josh Uche, who they have already on the defensive line. He's going to be able to complement them well. Great pick there in the second round. I give that a B rating. And then Kashawn Butte, right? This guy was regarded as one of the top receivers in college football at one point. Played for LSU. Some of the concerns of why he slid so far. This is a round one talent, Craig, but he slipped all the way to round 6, and that happened because of immaturity, character concerns. But I think this could be the steal of the draft. He's very dynamic with the ball, but the key for him is he's going to have to be able to lock in, right? He's going to have to leave all that stuff behind him, and you're not going to get on the field with Bill Belichick, if you got character issues, he's not going to go for that, bro. You will sit on the bench. So he's going to have to lock in low, and he could be a great addition to go along with Juju Smith-Schuster, some of the other picks they got as far as wide receivers. For Mac Jones, who's looking to kind of have that decision of a season next year. If they're going to do that, Keyshawn Butte is going to have to buy in. But I thought that pick could potentially be a steal for the New England Patriots. Great pick for them, but he's going to have to be locked and loaded. Cannot allow the other stuff, the outside noise, and all the character issues to come up. He's gonna have to be locked and loaded if he wants to be able to play for the New England Patriots, and if so, that's a steal.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think you said it right. When they pick a guy that has slid, I mean, they know that. I mean, that's the fit for them. They're gonna obviously be on his case and make sure that he can be successful right away. I think that division is going to be incredible. The Patriots got a lot of big defensive pieces. I
You
think
have
they
to.
became a tougher football team. A lot of young, physical playmakers. That's what they want to do to contend in that division. Thought they were an interesting team to consider heading into the draft, just how they're going to be able to compete. I think they're going to steal a lot of wins against the Bills, the Dolphins. They're all going to kind of beat each other. I think it will benefit the Chiefs and the Bengals because I don't think a team's coming out of that division with a AFC leading record. I think it's one of the deeper ones. So I think the Patriots will be a tough matchup week in and week out if they can stay consistent during the season. I think they're going to have a positive record, be over 500, potentially get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I give them a solid B plus. I think B to B plus for the Patriots draft. We'll see how it turns out, but I think it really interesting and great point. I don't know, man. Take for Caleb Williams. I'm gonna reserve a comment on that one. I like him. I just hope he's not a case of what we saw with like a Spencer Rattler, right? Not saying he's him, he's better than him. I'm just saying like I like to hold my breath after one great season because we've seen quarterbacks have great seasons. Oh, he's a Heisman favorite. Oh, he's this. Like we saw Drake May have a great, I think freshman or sophomore year at North Carolina, right? So before I even say that, I want to see more. I want to see what he's able to do this year in the Pac-12, right? Pac-12 has gotten a little bit better, right? Oregon's going to be better next year. Colorado's going to be better next year. UCLA will be better next year. So how will he follow up that great season he has? Can he get the USC to a college football playoff matchup that they've never had in school history? I want to see him be able to do things like that. But he is really good. But we will see if he follows up the season he had last year for sure. That definitely wouldn't be bad. And a team that should possibly take from him, Washington. Keep that in mind.
Interesting.
We'll see how Sam Howell does in his second year. He was a rookie last year. We'll see how he does. But that would be interesting.
One more question on the NFL. We're about to move. Who is your favorite for Rookie of the Year?
Ooh.
Or just out of the quarterbacks?
Jackson Smith and Jake Bijan Robinson. You got Jalen Carter. Man, I'm gonna have to say the quarterback. I think it's gonna be probably. I'm gonna go Stroud.
Interesting.
I'm gonna go Stroud. Yeah. I think, and the reason I go Stroud, their division is tough, right? Well, not really, but they got Jacksonville. Tennessee's a question mark, right? I don't think they're gonna be as good this year. Indianapolis question mark. Anthony Richardson's kind of a project at the moment. We'll see how they look, but I think he has the best chance to potentially be a steal, as you mentioned, Craig. Those teams in the AFC East beating up on each other, right? the AFC South may have another team that's able to kind of sneak in there, right? I think that would be a team that can sneak into the postseason position. I still think Carolina's going to have a great season. I think that they're going to be able to contend in the division along with Atlanta. I think those two are kind of the top two. I think in that division are going to be able to contend. But I think C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, John Michie, all those players that got to surround him. I think Houston will have a sneaky good year with the D'Amico Ryans at the helm. Look for the defense to be a lot better. But I'm going to go C.J. Stroud has a great rookie season, surprised a lot of folks.
Yeah, that would be a huge storyline to watch, just with all those quarterbacks going early and who's going to emerge as the rookie of the year.
Yeah. And last question, and I'm going to throw it back to you, Craig. This is from you, Dave. Are Eagles clear favorites to win Super Bowl after the draft and trade for DeAndre Swift? I'm not going to lie to you, man. They have definitely put themselves in position to win a Super Bowl. Cowboy fans, as I'm putting in the video, they didn't want to believe it. They called me crazy for what I said, but I think they should be worried. Philly not playing. I know people are tired of talking about Howie Roseman, but he absolutely nailed that draft. Like, he got better, which is the scary part. Philly got better. Like, you got already people say, oh, well, he's the best quarterback in the division. No, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC. Name me a quarterback who's better than him right now. I'll wait. And no, Graham, not Kirk Cousins. No. Respectfully. No, not Kirk Cousins. It's Jalen Hurts, okay? So, you still got Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert. You just traded for DeAndre Swift because you had questions at your running back position. Right. You get him from from Detroit, but he went to Georgia to go along with Kenneth Gainwell, who's a great piece for you, Boston Scott, and your other running back, right? Your offense is going to be better. You're going to have different coordinators, so they're going to have to be able to have the talent. But let's go back to defense, right? Darius Slay, James Bradbury. You got, I think, Greedy Williams from Cleveland. Safety was a question mark, right? So we'll see what happens with safety because C.J. Gardner-Johnson went to the Lions, so we'll see. I think they drafted somebody too at safety, but we'll see about safety. Defensive line-wise, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, Noah Smith, right? Yes. And then you got Kelly Ringo in the draft too. All those guys are going to get significant minutes next year. I know everybody's like, oh, well, Jalen Davis, he played, and Jacoby didn't get to play time. He had people ahead of him. He had T.J. Edwards, right? He had Kazir White. Jacoby Dean's going to play this year, right? Philly got a lot better, and Dallas should be worried. Their defensive line is significantly better than last year, and they got veterans who are going to train those Georgia boys and know what to do, and they're going to be significantly better in the years to come, and they got them locked and loaded for years to come.
Yeah, I think just last year what they did, I mean, they're going to come out next year, ton of excitement. They've got to get the wins early, don't have a slump, but they're just going to get better and better as the season goes on. The rookies are going to get more experience, I think. Come December and once the playoffs hit, they're going to be extremely focused and dangerous. And just last year, I mean, they very easily could have come away with that Super Bowl. It wasn't really anything they did wrong. The Chiefs just held on to the ball at the end and had a great play on special teams. So I think they did get better, and they're definitely the favorite to make it to the Super Bowl, and I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, the NFC's weak, so they should be right there. But yeah, they knocked it out the park. So we'll see, man. It'll be interesting in the NFC, but I think that's the team that should be right there. But now let's transition to our last topics for the day. Craig, I'm gonna throw it to you. It's gonna be first before we talk about Steph and LeBron and the Warriors and the Lakers. Just tell me any topics you want to talk about before we hit the main one that you saw that you want to hash out on and get some input on in the NBA.
Well, I was interested in what you were saying about Steph, but then how about the 76ers and James Harden stepping up? We talked about all the pressure on them to finally come out and make noise in the playoffs. I just think that was a big victory to get to open this series, and the East looks pretty open. I think the Celtics, they showed that they don't really look as talented as I thought they were. They struggled against the Hawks in some sense. Didn't get the win last night. So I think the Sixers have a big opportunity for sure.
The East is vulnerable. Yeah. And the East became vulnerable when Jimmy Butler, as an 8th seed with a struggling team that was last in offensive efficiency, beat the Milwaukee Bucks, the best team in the league. That's when it became vulnerable. The Hawks even gave the Celtics a little bit of a run and took them to 6 games, right, with everything that happened with them this year. So the East is wide open. And I've definitely terms of All-Star. I'm gonna talk about that point too with Jordan Poole because he has not impressed me at all. I'm gonna definitely talk about that point when I talk about Steph. But James Harden, like, everybody that knows me knows I've always been critical of James Harden. And it's been because in those big moments he folds. And it's not about scoring 40 points a game. It's not about scoring 50 or 60. I've always been show me the effort, show me you want it, right? He was diving on the floor yesterday. He was locked and loaded defensively. Towards the end of the game, he hits the game-winning shot to send them and give them the first round. I mean, the first win in the series, right? No Joel Embiid, who's going to win MVP tonight, and he goes and does that on the road along with Tyrese Maxey. Keep in mind, his reaction at the end of the game basically was, "No, guys, we're not celebrating. You know, we got a game tomorrow. We got to stay locked in and loaded, or the game the next day, right? That's just one game. It's just one game. This is what I've been asking from James Harden for the longest, right? It's more than just scoring. It's being locked and loaded. It's being in leadership. It's lying in defensively. It's carrying your team when they need it most. James Harden just did that, and that makes Philly pretty dangerous. I had Boston winning this series, but if that's the James Harden that's going to show up, they are dangerous, and that's what they've needed from Harden, and that's what we've been asking from Harden for the longest time. Being that leader, locked and loaded, and stepping up big when you need it most. James Harden just did that, right? And if you're a Boston fan, you should feel a little concerned, right? Although it's one game, we'll see how they come back out. But for them to win that without Joel Embiid, who's hobbled right now, on the road, James Harden goes up for 45, ties his playoff career high. You can't perform that no better. So shout out James Harden today, giving credit where credit is due. That was an awesome game. I did a video on my TikTok. Happy for James Harden. This is what we've been asking for a long time, and he just did it. So shout out to him.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you bringing that up, I have memories from past playoffs where it's a game 7 and he's been great all series and then doesn't come out, and so they obviously needed him to step up big in that game 1 win. Yeah, that was huge for them. A much needed victory. The East is wide open. We'll see, and then anything can happen for them, but that'd be huge for the Sixers
for sure. And I'm going to bring back up Dave's point about Jordan Poole, right? And I know this trade, I've told some people and they said, no, this trade is ridiculous. But if I'm Golden State, no matter what happens in the series, right? Let's say if they go back to the finals, or let's say they beat the Lakers, whatever happens, or they lose, whatever. I'm strongly considering next season, and they already gave this guy the bag, right? They gave him the 4-year, $125 million. If I'm the Warriors, I'm strongly consider trading Jordan Poole, right? I'm considering trading him, even though this is your young nucleus. It sounds crazy, but you probably got another good 5 or 6 years with Steph, right? I'm going to re-sign Draymond. I'm going to re-sign Clay. Clay needs to play better, though. Clay has not been cutting it. He needs to do a lot better. Just he's not getting it done. He got to be better. But I'm trading Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, possibly Kuminga, and some draft picks. I'm going to go get Damian Lillard. Everybody's like, oh, well, the defense is not good. It's the same as Jordan Poole. Who cares? Jordan Poole don't play no defense right now. You add Damian Lillard to that backcourt along with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins and possibly Draymond Green and Kevon Looney? What? Talk about spacing? Talk about dynamic shooting ability? Talk about 2 guys who can snipe from 40-plus feet? Come on, bro. That's a different breed. No defense will have an answer for that. And you put Dame in a position to be able to contend and compete for a championship. I'm not saying it will happen. That's just me fantasizing, but that's what I would do. Jordan Poole has not gotten it done. His thing is, he won the chip last year. He was big on part of their run, but I think he's let it got to his head. He's arguing with a assistant coach on the sideline in that big game that they got blown out with. And the fact that Steph, who does not talk a lot, he lets his play do the talking. He dropped 50, right? And said, basically, including Jordan Poole, because it was directed to him, if you're going to have an ego and you're going to be caught up in your emotion, don't get on the bus. Don't get on the plane. We don't need that. The fact that Steph has to say that to the young guys, I think says a lot. You're not performing up to snuff, right? To me, he shouldn't have been starting in the first place over Draymond, right? But Draymond's like, okay, hey, let me put my ego to the side. I'm going to be a leader, and I'm going to put that to the side and let him start and see what happens because it's better for sports placing. That did not help the Warriors at all. All he does is turn over the basketball, gets frustrated, and then yells at the coaches. He's immature. He needs to get it together. It's going to take time, obviously, because he's young. We'll see what happens. But he has a lot more learning to do. And the fact that Steph has to make that speech says a lot.
That is a tremendous point. And we already know with this series, every single thing these players do is going to get magnified. This is all anyone's going to talk about. What did LeBron say to his teammate after this play? What did Steph do? And so that pressure is going to build. You have a bad performance, and then everything surrounding, and then the loss is being blamed on you. I think Steph had the right attitude. James Harden, what he said about focusing on the next game, that's the only way to survive just all the drama that's going to be surrounding this series.
Yeah, and we'll go right into our point about Steph and LeBron. Again, this is an all-time series. All-time, right? Two all-time greats, and I said it in one of my videos. I think Steph is one of the best to ever do it, to put on a uniform to dribble a basketball. He is, unequivocally. You dropped 50 in the game 7, most ever in NBA history. I mean, you didn't get no help. Clay was 4 for 19. Wiggins was 5 for 16. He got little to no help in that game. He did it all literally by himself, right? So what this can do for Steph is, everyone said, oh, we can't win without KD. What this will do for Steph is, if he beats LeBron and goes back on another finals run and wins, that cements him, I think, as top 5 all time. You can't argue. 5 championships, a unanimous MVP. If he wins another finals MVP, that's 2. What else could you say about Steph Curry? If it happens, I'm not saying it will. If it happens, right? So, and then you are 3-1 against LeBron, 15-7 all time against LeBron in playoff series, right? So it only is going to add more to Steph's legacy. That's all I would do. LeBron is almost cemented as number 2 in a lot of people's eyes. Could it add to his legacy a little bit? I think so. But who has more to gain? I think it would be Steph Curry, right? Because he's still not seen as a top 10 all-time player. But I just think this is a marquee series, right? Steph, LeBron, AD, Draymond. You don't get much better than this. Warriors and Lakers haven't played each other in, I think, 3+ decades in the playoffs. It don't get much bigger than this. And it got stars. And get this, the average ticket for this game, home or away, $726. That's to sit in the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
That showed you the marketability and how big those 2 stars are.
It's going to be huge. The media coverage, they're going to be analyzing every single little thing. But I think with Steph, what's impressive about him, you're talking about how his teammates weren't necessarily playing well. He does a good job of having these nights where he's exploding and scoring, but then he is that guy that's going to get the team involved too. He's not just going out there taking the
Not
shot.
selfish. Nope.
Exactly. And so that's what would really kind of be that impressive performance if he's able to do that. Be that leader on the court, get his team involved, get the assists when he starts to draw more pressure. It is going to go through him, and that will just show that he is that probably the best player to ever come through that franchise.
No, for sure. So it's gonna be great. I'm gonna definitely try to watch all the series tonight. Kicks off at 10 p.m. But I mean, yeah, I think it doesn't get bigger than Steph and LeBron. They've played each other multiple times. They both have a mutual respect for each other. It's just gonna be great basketball, intelligent basketball at its highest level. 2 all-time greats, future Hall of Famers in Clay and Draymond, obviously. AD has the potential to do that too. Can AD stay healthy? Right? Can he not be inconsistent? Can he not be, oh, game 1 AD, game 3 AD played magnificent, but game 2 and game 4 AD didn't play as good? You're not going to be able to do that in the series, AD, right? You're going to have to perform 7 games, 6 games, however much it takes at top tier level if the Lakers are going to win this series. If you're not at top tier level, Kevon Looney is not going for it. Okay, he made an all-star, possibly all-NBA player, and Domantas Sabonis looked like a shooting a center instead of a small forward, power forward, which he usually is. Okay, so you're gonna have to be locked and loaded, AD. We know what you can do. You had 4 blocks, average 4 blocks last series, 23 points and 10+ rebounds. We know what you can do, but you got to be locked and loaded. You have to be, AD has to be the Lakers' best player if they're going to win another championship. It cannot be LeBron at 38 years old. That ship has sailed. That is over. Can he still play at a high level? Yes, but AD has to be the best player on the Lakers for them to win it all. So it's gonna be an interesting test.
Yep. And obviously, it's a great point about just all the Lakers series having a ton of media attention, but it is just so true. I mean, it will be a 1-0 lead for whatever team, and everyone's going to be, oh, is game 2 a must win? I mean, it's going to be intense. And the point is, it's like these players that, I mean, they are really just going to have to be completely focused and handle it the right way, or it just gets out of control.
Yeah, and last but not least, I think the biggest thing is going to be the role players, right? Who's going to step up for both teams? Can't just be Steph, can't be LeBron, can't be AD, can't be Clay, right? It's going to be the Jordan Pooles, the Jonathan Kumingas, the Gary Paytons, the Andrew Wiggins. For the Lakers, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura off the bench, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, if he can give you some minutes. Those players are going to have to step up. That's going to be key. And to close the show, says Jokic, Embiid MVP predictions. It's going to be Embiid. Jokic is not winning his 3rd consecutive MVP. It's not going to happen. It's going to be Embiid, which he deserves to win it. It sucks that sometimes he can't stay healthy, but Embiid had a monster season. I know that the Nuggets got the number 1 overall seed, but it is Embiid. He had a great season. I continue to show what he can do, and if he comes back and can play 80% of himself, they're going to win it.
Yeah, I think he's going to win too. when the conversation first came up, I was like, okay, maybe we'll get 3 straight. But then the way Embiid kind of responded down the stretch, some of his monster performances, I think he definitely solidified the case. So, who are you going to be cheering for in this Lakers Warriors series?
Oh man, my dad asked me that question. That is so tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love both players. I'm not gonna lie though, man. I mean, I think Steph is might be just. It was Dwayne Wade at one point in his career because he was just exceptional, and then LeBron kind of took that over. But Steph is like my all-time favorite player. Like he's gotten in that category. I have two of his jerseys. I have a poster. I almost want to like pay to see him live, like before he retires. Like I want to go to a Hawks game and see him live and like in person to just see the shooting prowess on display. Um, I don't know, man. Either team win, I'd be happy. I think Warriors will edge them. But I just want to see great basketball. I would say, but either team win, I wouldn't be upset. I love both teams, and obviously, I don't have a team anymore. I used to like the Heat, but now I just love players. But I'm just hoping for a great series, and that LeBron and Steph, they both stay healthy, and that they both go at each other, and it's an all-time series.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh man, see, I was kind of split too. I can't imagine myself ever cheering for the Warriors, but I don't want to be that guy that's just pulling against LeBron. I definitely just want a good series, but oh man, I'd probably go with the Warriors.
Okay. Okay. It's gonna be intriguing. I mean, I can't wait to see. And before we wrap, any other questions you had, Craig, or any other points you wanted to make before we wrap up?
No, I'm good to go.
All right then. Well, Dave, once again, man, thank you for following us on Twitter. Appreciate the questions. That definitely helps kind of bring more into our show. So any guys that are watching, 3 guys here. I know one is Dave. But make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Najee Wook. Everything's linked below. At Craig Sager Jr. And DM us questions that you want us to answer on the show. Obviously, when football season comes around, we'll have more football coverage. I think I'm gonna take a position to try to cover more Georgia Tech football this upcoming season. Obviously, UGA will be a part of it, but I think that's going to be my kind of onus this season. Try to cover them more and find out the latest news and how they're doing and the latest with players and things like that, and bring that onto the show in the football season when that comes around. But any questions you guys want to see, definitely hit us on the DM, and we'll love to answer them. And once again, Dave, we appreciate you tuning in and all the questions, and definitely don't hesitate. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.